Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Hello everyone. First tonight, COVID restrictions have claimed another casualty, with FESTIVALE cancelled for the second year running. Although another event under a different name is still being considered, stallholders are becoming frustrated by the strict rules, claiming there's a double standard.
James Groves is part of Festivale's fabric. His stall, Jimmy's Gourmet Game Goods, is a hit with the hungry, but his food truck is sitting idle for a second year.
Festivale being one of them is the most expensive event to invest your money into to go to, so you've just got to weigh up whether it's worth the risk.
And it's that realisation which has organisers worried after the government knocked back its plan for 10,000 people in City Park.
What has been, a concern is that some of our long-standing stallholders from past events are no longer around, and what we don't want to see is more stallholders disappear because they can no longer sustain their business.
A butcher by trade, James luckily doesn't rely on events for his income, but he questions why seated stadiums are allowed 10,000 people, yet standing in the open air cuts capacity in half.
Everybody uses the same toilets. Everybody touches the same handrails.
At all times we are guided by public health advice, which has kept us all safe.
Organisers are now considering whether to run a scaled-down event under a different banner, like they did with Indulge this year, or none at all.
You do need to commit, up to 6 months out to get some of your headline acts booked in, some of your infrastructure booked in.
Even if an event capped at 5,000 people goes ahead, around 400 of those spots will be filled by stallholders and staff. And they're not the only ones having issues. The Royal Agricultural Society says 2/3 of its shows have been scrapped this year.
Clearly they see the framework as unworkable.
While capacity constrains the bigger shows, Scott Gadd says COVID red tape is killing the smaller ones, like Circular Heads, the latest to be culled.
We've got a volunteer base that are trying to do it. We've got an ageing base that are trying to deliver these shows, and it's all just too hard.
Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News.
The Treasury Department has revealed new national GST arrangements may leave Tasmania suffering. Its modelling shows the state could be up to $755 million worse off by 2031-32, while Western Australia could be more than $55 billion better off across that same period. Labor calling the GST deal corrupt and unfair.
This is a really critical issue for Tasmanians because without this GST revenue, it will have an impact on hospitals, will have an impact on schools, will have an impact on every single service that this government is able to deliver.
This is not an agreement that we signed up for. We want to make sure that our GST is guaranteed not only now but into the future, and the Premier is going to keep on fighting for that.
Premier Peter Gutwein says the changed GST distribution model is not in our long-term best interest, and he supports an independent review commissioned by South Australia. A Bridgewater home has been damaged in a fire this afternoon. Emergency crews arrived to the property on Gunn Street before 4 o'clock. They closed the road between Sallia and Eddington Streets while they fought the blaze. It's not believed anyone was inside at the time, and investigations are ongoing. Meanwhile, the fire service is gearing up for the upcoming bushfire season, saying despite a mild outlook, we must be prepared. Aboriginal community members delivering specialist training to firefighters today to improve fuel reduction efforts.
Patches of flames burning through vegetation, lit by the ones who usually put them out. The Tasmania Fire Service using methods to reduce fuel loads taught by the region's traditional owners.
What we're trying to avoid is hot burns, so we're trying to keep the burns cool. We do them in small mosaic styles, and that allows also for less displacement of animals.
The South East Tasmanian Aboriginal Corporation running weekly cultural burning workshops, part of the state's bushfire management.
Well, we all know that fire intensity is the real risk to major bushfires. If we can keep fire intensity smaller or lower, then that provides a better movement of fire.
Parks and Wildlife recently employing new Aboriginal cultural burning specialists to assist with projects.
We undertook our first cultural burn up in the northwest coast, a place called Dempster Plains, which was 6,000 hectares of button grass. And that is a program that we'll look at continuing on for the next 4 or 5 years.
Utilising their deep understanding of the land.
It's really important to share this knowledge. It's not just for TFS and Parks and Wildlife, but it's for all Australians. previously said, that this is fire country. We all live in it, and so we need to understand it to be able to manage it better.
It comes as authorities conduct statewide fuel reduction burns ahead of the bushfire season.
Well, the current predictions are for a mild season, so we'll be preparing as we usually do for the normal fire behaviour that we see every summer.
Residents also urged to clean up properties and prepare a bushfire survival plan. Ruby COMMANE, 7 Tasmania News.
A revolutionary piece of drilling equipment built here in Tasmania could be the key to answering age-old climate mysteries. The machine can burrow through almost 3 kilometres of Antarctic ice and collect samples more than 1 million years old.
This may not be the Antarctic Division's most prized icebreaker, but in terms of ancient research, it may be the most vital asset.
It's incredibly significant. This project is about 10 years in the making.
Built in Hobart, made for the world's coldest continent, the heavy 10-metre drill can sink its teeth into ice 2.8 kilometres deep and retrieve samples more than 1 million years old.
It aims to recover Antarctica's longest continuous ice core.
Tiny air bubbles, chemicals and particles frozen in time, offering researchers unrivaled cold hard data of how past climates have evolved and what they may look like in the future.
We're probably not talking about the next 10 to 100 years, but actually predicting much further out than that.
In only months, the state-of-the-art machine will be deployed to the Casey Research Station along with 500 scientists, tractors, sleds and vans.
This will be the most ambitious season the Australian Antarctic Division has ever gone through.
One of the biggest challenges will be carting the 800 tonnes of machinery and cargo to the remote parts of Antarctica. Most of it is so big, it will need to be taken by ship. It comes as the highly anticipated new icebreaker Nuina is in the final stages of a globe-hopping voyage to her new home in Hobart. It's expected to arrive in the middle of next month. GARTH, Burley, 7 Tasmania News.
The state government has rubbish claims an inquiry into the greyhound industry won't be wide-ranging. Racing Minister Jane Howlett this afternoon rejected accusations the review won't have teeth and says it will be conducted by an independent expert. Clark MP Andrew Wilkie is demanding the state government overhaul the sector following 8 greyhound deaths on the track this year.
If greyhound racing was being done ethically, if animal welfare was paramount, those deaths would not be occurring.
The number of greyhounds euthanised has plummeted by 250 in 4 years. Well, after 18 months in the dark, the curtain is being raised on major Tasmanian theatre productions. The globally popular Rocky Horror Show will be the first large-scale stage show in the newly renovated Theatre Royal. Demand is so strong, management has added an extra week with 6 more shows.
Extra work for all our creatives and all our crew and cast for an extra week, so it's, providing employment in an industry that's become completely decimated, and the rest of the country is just watching us now going a bit envious.
The industry says the removal of capacity restrictions and mask requirements have provided added confidence.
The North has taken out 2 of the 3 games in the Devils Development Series. The day started well for the South, with the under-17 girls bursting out of the blocks to clinch a 60-17 win. Bridie Horn was named player of the match. The under-16 boys squared things up with a 40-point win in the second game of the day. The final score there, 91-51. While the under-15 girls finish off the series, the North victors by 64 points, 82-18. The start of the Sheffield Shield season is in disarray. Today's first-class game between Queensland and Tasmania was called off after new COVID cases emerged in Brisbane. The Tasmanians flew home today, so Sunday's one-day cup match looks highly unlikely as well.
Good evening. State temperatures were above average today with 18 degrees in Launceston, 16 for Hobart and Burnie and Devonport with a top of 15. 20 was the top temperature in the state at St Helens, 19 degrees for King Island and Friendly Beaches, Flinders Island, Bushy Park and Strahan all 17, 15 in Lowhead and Grove and a high of 13 in Lyowini. There was areas of cloud over the majority of Tasmania and mostly patchy over the northeast, while for the rest of Australia, cloud rotates around a low over the Bight, producing a cloud band that extends over central Australia, and a high over the Tasman Sea is directing cloud over the eastern states. Tomorrow, a high south of the Bight extends a ridge south of Australia, while a low over the southeast of the mainland extends a trough to a low over the Northern Territory. For the coastal waters, winds will increase up to 30 knots in the west and north, while a swell up to 4 metres will be seen in the west, south and east. A strong wind warning is current for western and northern coastal waters, from Low Rocky Point to St Helens Point. To tomorrow's forecast, 14 with a shower or two in Hobart and Geeveston. Launceston will be cloudy with a top of 18 and similar conditions for Devonport and Cressy. Cloudy conditions in Burnie and Strawn, both 17 degrees, a shower or two for Currie, and a shower or two in St Helens, Swansea and Orford, all with a high of 14. Looking at the 3-day forecast, Thursday will see rain across the state with some heavier falls about the east. The rain will continue on Friday and possible thunderstorms on the way. And a wet start to the weekend for most of the state, with showers more frequent about the east, northwest and central areas. Australia-wide, tomorrow will be 17 degrees with rain easing in Melbourne and showers in Sydney and Brisbane, both reaching 22. And it's currently 11 degrees in Hobart, 13 in Launceston and 12 in Devonport. That's all in weather. Back to you, Kim.
Okay, thank you very much, Tiani. Now, before we leave you tonight, Public Health has declared a number of Queensland premises as high risk in the wake of the Brisbane COVID outbreak. Anyone who has been to these sites at these specified times won't be permitted to enter Tasmania, while those already here who visited these premises must isolate and call the Public Health hotline. Those sites can be found on the Tasmanian Government's COVID website. That's all we have time for tonight. Good night.